Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this interview with Audrey White, who I'm very pleased has made some time to speak to us today. We all saw the videos on social media with her taking on Starmer and saying all the things that we've all wanted to say. So thank you so much, Audrey. And Audrey is the secretary of the Merseyside Pensioners Association, who were protesting Starmer that day, and is also one of the founding members of Stop the War, has been an activist for a very long time and won huge victories for the left and for women in this country. So very, very pleased to be speaking to you, Audrey. And yeah, just firstly to say thank you for for what you did. I think that resonated with a lot of people. And if I can start by asking you a little bit about kind of your history in the Labour Party and kind of how it's gotten to where it is now.
Well, I have to say, I joined the Labour Party at a very, very young age. I think I was about 15 in the Young Socialists, and out campaigning for the likes of Harold Wilson and so on. So I really do go back. And then, of course, when he sent the troops into Ireland and all the rest of it, it was, I've had what would you say, a varied relationship with the leadership. And, I've been the foot soldier that's gone out and, tromped on the streets, and I've never held a position, never wanted a position. But I have had a lot of victories in terms of fighting against injustice. And one of them was the Lady at Lord John dispute in Liverpool, which was turned into a film, but it was a really important victory for women because it led to changes in the law on sexual harassment. And I'm very proud of that battle. And I have to say, and I say it all the time, it's never one person. It's like, as Tony Benn says, it's not one person who comes along and changes things. It was because I had my union, dockers and car workers, mostly men, would you believe? I love saying it, only because it's about a class issue. It's not about, it's women who are more the victims. But unless we join together with working class generally, and that includes men, and convince them and talk to them and discuss with them. It's only, by being united that we win anything. And it was a tremendous victory. It was a vicious dispute where, young women were sexually harassed in my store. And I'm just really proud that we, as a trade union and the whole Labour movement in Liverpool, came out and supported one woman. And that woman just happened to be me. So it's a great example of what we can do even today, because people say, "Oh, I'm only one. I'm the only one. I'll be the only one in the union." Well, be the only one in the union, and show them what the union can do for you. And if you have to fight your union, you fight your union. That's what life is, a battle. And if you don't battle, if you take everything on, and don't fight back, where are we? We're left at the mercy of, bosses and the establishment and so on. So, yeah, and then I joined I fell out with Labour over Tony Blair. I had nothing to do, would never put my name to the Labour Party at that time. And I left the Labour Party at that time. But I've always gone on picket lines, and the miners in particular, the railway workers over the keeping the guards on the trains, for cleaners, for wanting better pay, for going to the pubs. We used to go to the pubs and just stand outside for one woman who was being treated badly inside a pub. That's the sort of stuff you have to do. They're the campaigns that win you gains. Keir Starmer isn't going to do anything about it. A lot of these leaders would do nothing about it, but Corbyn would. So the big thing then was just to keep on fighting when I'd left the Labour Party. And that's when, I was one of the people in Merseyside who put together the Merseyside Stop the War. And we were tremendous battles there. We were one of the few that sent a full train and 30 or 40 coaches to the big demonstration on February the 15th, and it was immense, the support. We punched above our weight because of the things that we did. And we played an important role in building opposition, and very, very nearly we were that far from bringing Tony Blair, down. And we wanted to bring him down. We wanted to stop that war, So you can say, am I a loyal Labour Party member? Well, I'm loyal to the ideas, not to people. I'm loyal to the ideas that built our movement. So, and then the next thing, of course, we had Corbyn. We had this tremendous flood of hundreds of thousands. And I say in the video, tens of thousands, it was hundreds of thousands of people who flocked to join Labour. So we had the biggest party in the whole of Europe. We weren't bankrupt. We weren't bankrupt of ideas, certainly. And we weren't bankrupt of money either. Because they weren't the big backers. It was just ordinary people like me, you, all of us, who were so, oh my God, it was hysterical, really, when you think up and down the country, no matter where you looked, there was massive crowds trying to listen to this man. And it wasn't about Corbyn, it was about the ideas that he was putting across. And he reflected the hopes and dreams of so many of us. And you know what? Those hopes and dreams are still there. They've not gone away. They're still there. And that, I think, let's get to Starmer. Starmer has had no criticism from the Parliamentary Labour Party, no criticism from the Socialist Campaign Group, no solidarity from them, to be sure. We've had no criticism of him by the press. He's their darling. He's the one that they want to usher in as a Tory party Mark II, because he's a safe pair of hands for the establishment. And we know it in our heart and soul. And all those people were kidded by him. Some people were naively thinking he was a man of his word. And we found that out he isn't. We found out he isn't. And yet nobody's voiced those concerns in a big way, because who's there to do it? The press aren't there to do it. They certainly aren't our friends. They're not the friends of socialism. So, who do we rely on? And it's up to us. It's up to us now. And hopefully, that video that's gone round and the actions of us as a group. I mean, I'm the one in the video, but it was two brilliant filmmakers who put that film together, and all the comrades outside from the Merseyside pensioners who were trapped him really. He was sandwiched between these wonderful women and men who were outside with their banners, and he was glaring at them. He was facing the window. Can you imagine? He's thinking, oh my God, how am I going to have my dinner? And then we came at the back of him. And he was absolutely gobsmacked. You can see it on his face. And he didn't have a word. And you know why? Because he is bankrupt. He hasn't got an idea in his head except to support the status quo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was I don't hold Starmer in very high regard, but his absolute silence was quite telling. Like, he just did not have a thing to say. Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, and I think you're absolutely right. Obviously, the hopes and the inspiration that people felt in the Corbyn years is still there, and clearly Starmer is trying to do everything he can to kind of stamp that out, really. So what do you think should happen with Labour now, and is there a future for the left in Labour? I don't know. What's your thoughts on that kind of thing?
I think I think that video, just to concentrate on that a moment, because the floodgates, it's opened the floodgates, and 2 million is 2 million views, over 2 million views on that. It's the 1.6 on the Merseyside pensioners alone, and all different. Aaron Bastani's has 700,000. He did it separately, and there's loads of streams. I mean, it's like watching this network of people discussing things, and some people getting viciously attacked for saying something, or some people giving really reasoned arguments, and I think that's really healthy. And what it's done is it's given people this well, hang on here, which way are we going? Instead of just feeling battered by the press and battered by Starmer and battered by the General Secretary and all these people, they're going, well, hang on, I've got this woman's done. And they're thinking, what are we going to do? And I hope it's definitely started the debate, which is always the healthiest thing. But I hope it's a series now of people challenging what's going on in the Labour Party, because when they started the anti-Semitism, when they started that, it should have been nailed in the head. It should have been. I did it through attacking the Jewish Chronicle for the lies that they printed against me, and it wasn't easy. But people were too afraid, they were afraid. They were intimidated of being labelled anti-Semitic. And now what does it? Everyone's anti-Semitic now. If you say a word in favour of Palestine, if you say a word criticising, any of your MPs, you're anti-Semitic, and it's disgraceful, because it's weakening the argument against real anti-Semites. It's one of the most disgusting things that's happened. So I think people are looking past all this rubbish now, and they've got a perspective. The pandemic still rages. The economy is absolutely flatlined. Well, it collapsed in 2008. So the future of the Labour Party is as an organisation that changes things for the working class. It depends on what you're thinking of. If you're thinking of the Labour Party as just for getting into power and managing capitalism in the interest of bosses and the establishment and the corporations and the warmongering machine, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in, if that's what the Labour Party means today. If it doesn't mean nationalisation, if it doesn't mean fair conditions for workers, if it doesn't mean peace where you can get peace, where you can negotiate peace, if it doesn't include the interest of the working class of this country, what's the point? It's just another Tory party. So I would love it. I would love to think, wave a magic wand, and you go back to have an opportunity to get an MP that actually represents people, like Corbyn did. He slipped through the net, and they've been horrified ever since, and fearful. And Corbyn always did say, didn't he, it's not me they fear, it's you. But we're still here. And I think there is a massive movement in the trade union movement. You can see it, can't you? It's fantastic. I don't know whether you know this, but we had a fantastic Saturday, a few Saturdays ago. We had this Join a Union gala, and all the unions, some of them had a tent, some of them just had tables, nearly all of the unions, but from the FBU to Unite to, all of them, they were all there. And there was groups of us, at different tables, and we were there as the Merseyside pensioners with our newsletter and information, blah, blah, blah. And it was great to shout aloud to people, because a lot of young people don't know what the unions have done. They don't realise the unions built the Labour Party. So the future of the Labour Party will only be worthwhile if there's some radical change, and I can't see it happening. I think we've got to fight in the unions, we've got to fight in our communities, we've got to build a party. I'm hoping that within the next year or so that there is some party that comes out that holds, because we've got an election coming up, and I think a lot of independents will be standing, and I hope that we can, and don't just hope, I work towards that happening. We work towards that happening, and support independents who've got the policies that need to change, because it's not about individuals, it's about the policies, it's about the dreams and the hopes of real change for people. And I'll tell you why. I mean, things are just too bad. Things are just too bad for too many people that, you know, you can't tinker around the edges anymore. At one time you could say, oh, well, we need this little gain the Labour Party might win for us, or that little gain there. Things are too bad. You know, there's no, the permanent jobs hardly exist. People can't have a future. The kids are all in debt right up to their eyeballs, absolutely crippled financially before they even start their lives. And that upsets me. I feel upset just saying it, because these young people are having their youth stolen from them, and they've got their futures stolen from them. They can't plan anything in their lives. No wonder mental health in young people is going, you know, is in an all-time high. It's terrible. And then families struggling, you know, with the kids. Kids are being said, I mean, what's happening with the, I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant here, but what's happening with the pandemic? You know, and how this has affected the health service. Massive attacks, even from Starmer, over the health service. It's privatized, basically. It's collapsed. And we've got to fight for our health service like we've never fought before. And that's what's at stake. World wars are at stake. The country is absolutely in, you know, economically bankrupt. And it's only the working class now who are getting angry, and you can see it, and who do remember he gave us a massive service to this country, Corbyn, by taking that leadership position and hammering home the changes we need, and putting together, alongside with the people at the conference, the team that he had, Prem Seeker, that wonderful man who was the accountant who put together the financial side of how we could achieve real change in this country without a money tree, with just really good ideas on how to claw back some of the money that's fed into corporations and private pockets, to actually make sure that the world is a better place, not just for ordinary people, but for everybody. Because who wants to live in a world that's so unequal like that, and step over bodies in the street? That's all we're doing in Liverpool, is stepping over people in the street who are lying there. Wait till the winter comes and COVID's rampant again and all the rest of it. You know, but there is hope, you see, because you can talk yourself into a bad place. But we are fighting back, and I think it's wonderful, and I think things are going to start really moving, and talking about a summer of discontent, you know, is probably an understatement. We need a general strike.
Yes, we can we hope. But no, I think you're absolutely right, and that was really, really good. And yeah, and I think a lot of people will have seen your video the other day, and you know, it's really resonated, and they'll see this and kind of connect those dots. And you know, this is about us fighting in our communities and in our trade unions, and yeah, and fighting for change. So yeah, thank you so much for making time to speak with us today. And yeah, and again, thank you for everyone for all that you've done. And yeah, and we'll see you on the streets and in the struggle.
Well, can I just say, I think Stop the War has been an absolute brilliant vehicle for putting across the arguments. It's so important to be part of the Stop the War organisation. And I know it sort of goes in. I must say this to people who are anything to do with Stop the War. You know, there's troughs, there's peaks and troughs with inactivity, and it's because there's so many battles to fight that you know, which way do you turn? And when there's a sense of urgency within you know, there's a threat of war, or there's an attack, or there's a build-up, that people then turn to the Stop the War organisation, because you don't get it anywhere else. You don't get it in the Labour Party, certainly. even the MPs are being gagged. So yeah, the Stop the War really done a very good job in voicing, and educating people, tremendous speakers over the years and so on. So I just want to say that people should join the Stop the War organisations where they are and be active and educate people around them over, these terrible wars that are building.
Yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly endorse that message. Yeah, people should join Stop the War. But yeah, thank you very much, and solidarity with you, and yeah, see you around.
Solidarity with you, comrade. All the best.